Alright, what up guys? So today I'm going to show you how everybody's doing like the infinite damage build for the Druid. It's usually a Boulder build. I think it works with another build, but I don't really recall what it is. You need something that does continuous damage. That's why the Boulder Hurricane build works. The only reason I'm doing 110 in this like little opening video, by the way, is because I haven't gotten to 150 yet. But you can see the damage I'm doing. It's going to easily clear 150. But Path of Exile 2 comes out today, and I want to spend some time with my kid before that launches. I'm only going to get a couple hours to play it too, which sucks, but girlfriend's going to get home, then I got to cook and watch some TV with her, spend some time, then go to the gym, then go to bed. But anyway, so yeah, I just haven't gotten to 150 because I haven't done like the 5x5x5 stuff today. I just put the Druid build together this morning, figured out how it works, figured out a couple of the spots that make it work a little bit better and function a little easier. But with all that, let's get into it here. So the number that's being displayed, by the way, is 9 quintillion, 280 or 23 quadrillion, 373 trillion, 36 billion, 854,775,808, which I'm thinking is not really what it is, because what you're doing is you're hitting the damage cap. That's why there's also the minus in front of it. So the way that this build works, we'll get into that before we get into anything else, is this survival instincts glyph right here is bugged. While in werebear form, you deal 30% increased damage or 45% when you are at full life. You have 0% increased overpower damage up to 25% for every percent difference. It's just not displaying because we're in town. In current life and fortified life, percent between you and the enemy. So this is just like a long way of saying that, like, since the enemies in the higher pit tiers have trillions of life, that the difference between your life and their life is bugged right now, and it's not capping. So, but probably also a couple other weird things going in there, because it doesn't explain why sometimes you hit for a couple trillion and then out of nowhere you just boom 9 quintillion. But yeah, so let's get into the build, because I've seen people show this number in their builds. I haven't seen a video on a build guide. There might be one out there, not sure. And then there was a video that explained how the bug worked. But anyway, so get into the gear. The gear doesn't matter too much since it's the survival instincts that's causing the bug. But a few things that make the build work better. First off, you want Vasili's Prayer, because this means that your earth skills or werebear skills, and they'll fortify you. So the part where it fortifies you helps with the survival instinct, on top of this is just probably what you would use anyway. Shroud of False Death, because of the plus 1 to all passives, of course, and it's nice to get some stealth to move whenever you're not attacking stuff. That's one of my favorite parts about it. But just to get that extra movement speed, because you move like a turtle anymore, it feels like. But you can also use, what is it, the thing that it gives plus to all werebears, and you're always a werebear. I don't think it's necessary, but it might make it easier because you'll stay in werebear form when you're walking around. But as long as you cast the Boulder frequently enough, you're just going to be a werebear anyway. So I just prefer this. Use the other one if you want to be a little bit lazier. Metamorphic Stone on the gloves. Petrified duration's nice. Attack speed, I think, is the most important one, because it just makes your Boulder spin faster. And then critical strike chance, of course, because you want to make sure you crit. Plus the core skills is nice, since it's this makes Boulder a core skill. Max life for a little bit more overpower damage, although that doesn't matter too much because you're just going to be like that bug. You know, I doubt this bug's going to make it, by the way, to pass the test realm, but you know, have fun with it while you can. Storm shifters on the pants, because it just gives plus the ranks. Again, not super important, but hurricane duration matters a lot. You want you don't need to like triple crit hurricane duration. You don't even really need to crit it. You just want to make sure that you have enough hurricane duration to go through the cooldown process. I have triple critted on resistance to all elements, because even like this, I'm not capped yet because we don't have all of our paragon points, but you don't have to do that necessarily. Plus total armor to make sure we hit armor cap, which we're well above armor cap. Willpower, movement speed, Boulder. You could technically do better, probably. Instead of movement speed, do max life, but the difference isn't enough to justify it. And again, I don't want to move like a turtle. This is also where our other hurricane duration is. Then we have quicksand in here, so the enemies are just always CC'd. There's a couple of other things that could CC them, but it's just pretty simple. Get hit with a boulder, get slowed, and you have crowd control, right? Retaliation on the two-handed mace. Willpower, max life, overpower damage. Chance for boulders, projectiles to cast twice is going to be your best bet, but this is a PTR. I'm not going to try to perfectly do things. Even with unlimited resources, it's just really boring. I got 2 crits on there, and we were cool. Critical strike chance. And then we have retaliation on here. Your core skills deal up to 150% increased damage based on the amount of fortify, which you're usually fortified for most of your life. Sorry, took a quick sip of my drink. Dolmen Stone, thing that holds the build together. Casting Boulder while Hurricane is active causes the boulder to rotate around you. Boulder's damage is increased by whatever your roll is. You may have up to 10 boulders active at a time. Then we have this one right here is important. Casting Wrath skills restores 27 primary resource. Boulder is a Wrath skill, so as long as you at least double crit in that with some of the resource gen and stuff we have around, you'll just always be at max resource, so you'll never have to worry about that. We have Changeling's Dead on here. You deal % increased damage while hitting a poison enemy as a werebear. We don't use the reason there's a slot that's missing on my skill trees because I just didn't have any, not my skill tree, but my action bar. I don't really know what to put there because in the original version of this build, because I did just borrow and then tweak somebody else's build, they use Poison Creeper, but I use the aura that gives you poison, which we'll get to that in a second, so that something else activates, which is actually what's on here. Let's go over this real quick. Hunter Zenith. Every 30 seconds you spend in an animal form, your next core skill is guaranteed to overpower, critically strike, and deal extra damage. Then casting a shapeshifting skill reduces this timer by 1 or 2 seconds if it changes you into a new animal form. This just helps us get some guaranteed overpowers, which we have other ways to overpower guaranteed as well. But let's see this right here. While you have this is one of the occult gems that go in there. 160 armor, 8% resistance to all elements. They all give that. I'm not going to read that again. And then while you have an aura active, pull nearby enemies towards you every 8 seconds. So this pretty much just acts kind of like how Vortex works. Not Vortex, but Vortex, sorry, on the Spiritborn. So every 8 seconds, it just sucks enemies in towards us. And we have the aura that constantly is on us that gives us poison. So we get a lot of these poison benefits without having to have a skill for it, which is really nice. This one, for each of your aura and hexes and enemies afflicted by, they take increased damage from you. It's not multiplicative, so it doesn't really matter. I just don't really know what else to put there. And then while you have 3 or more Eldritch Witch power slotted, which we do, we get movement speed, helps with the turtling, and then 15% critical strike chance also helps. Then we have Tom and Exile, so casting a non-channel core skill 12 times will give us 20% increased life for 6 seconds. And then we have the new one, the Igni one, which just stores offering every few seconds, and then when you cast a non-basic skill, it puts that offering into the invoke the Druid's Petrify skill, stunning enemies, restoring primary resource. Let's go over to the Witchcraft powers here. Doom Orb is just kind of there because the rest of these, this doesn't really matter to me, this also doesn't really matter to me, and this definitely doesn't really matter to me. I mean, it's nice, I guess, for it to pull enemies towards it, so this one technically might be the best one. Actually, reading it now, this is probably your best bet, but I'll stick with my Doom Orb for now because odds are I won't be touching this PTR because Path of Exile 2 comes out today, and I highly doubt that I'll want to come back to this. But technically, yes, the Piranado is probably better because I usually don't have an aura on the other 2 or 3 builds that I've tested out in the PTR, so I forgot that this is what this does. But since I do have an aura on this character, then when I hex somebody and hit them with the aura, it just sucks them in. That's pretty nice, but it's not really necessary. So I just have Doom Orb because it's another Eldritch skill, because the way that I make enemies vulnerable in this build is the same way I've been doing it this whole time. So on, like, especially on the Sorcerer, where like it's really hard to get vulnerable going, it just says Eldritch effects apply vulnerable to enemies for 9 seconds. It also works on other stuff too, so you don't technically need it. And I guess having all the other hexes works fine at 4.5 seconds. But I'm working off the assumption that when this game releases into when it's not PTR, when it's just Season 7, that applying vulnerable for 2 seconds isn't enough, because you're going to start out, I think, at like 4 seconds. So since it's going to be halved from the other ones, and I don't think you can even get that until you rank it up more. So you're actually going to have to work towards ranking it up. So I just kind of went with what I would do on default. But I suppose since we use Hex of Shattering and Aura of Siphoning, or not, yeah, Hex of Shattering and Aura of Siphoning, this will give it vulnerable for 4.5 seconds, and it'll continually do that. So honestly, that's perfectly fine as well. This is just a PTR. We're just testing stuff out, right? So it's not perfect. Now that I've seen how stuff works, though, it'll make it easier to do some build guides before Season 7 launches. Before, when I was making the other build guides, it was like I didn't know which ones were the unique witch powers. So, you know. We have Hex of Shattering. This just helps with, most of it's just for this. Breath of the Covenant, dealing damage or applying a crowd control effect with any of your witchcraft effects increases your attack speed for 10 seconds, stacking once per unique witchcraft effect. While bonuses from all three are active, gain 25% lucky hit chance. That part doesn't really matter that much because there's nothing in this build that really cares about lucky hit chance. But in the Sorcerer build, I guess the Hex of Shattering, nope, Hex of Shattering doesn't even care. Anyway, I usually have this Hex on, what is it, Hex of Flames, which does care for it. And then there's other builds that, like lucky hit chance to restore resource and stuff, so it's good there. But just getting increased attack speed, like 45% attack speed is gnarly. Aura Siphoning, conjure an aura of decay that deals 600 poison damage to enemies every second. This is awesome because you don't have to use Poison Creeper, and it's something like you don't even have to think about it. So before you'd have to cast Poison Creeper, and then it wouldn't affect all the other enemies, and then you have to cast it again and think about it. With the Aura Siphoning, don't have to think about it. It just poisons everything around you in a circle. And since you're doing the BoulderCane, the only thing you're going to be doing damage to is enemies that are close to you anyway. So, Wave of Woe, which just helps with the Shaken Soul, because release a Wave of Woe when dealing damage to an enemy with your skills. So like pretty much anytime you hit an enemy, they get hit with the Wave of Woe. It helps with the Shaken Soul. The Doom Orb will also do it as well. If for some reason I don't see this making enemies vulnerable constantly, even though when you're reading it, it should. That's why I was using the Doom Orb. But again, I think Piranado is going to be your best bet. Look at that. Just every time I go through one of these build guides, like I end up discovering some way to fix my build. Even though I'm supposed to be giving you guys the best I got. But anyway, that's it for the Witchcraft powers. Mercenaries, we go the same thing I always do. Going down to Inspiration through the Resistance to All Elements one on Rahir, and then Varanya, Bloodthirst. Do it this time when you cast Hurricane, because you'll cast Hurricane, and then she'll come out, and then you start just like going off of boulders, you know? But Bloodthirst gives you 10% attack speed. So we definitely hit attack speed cap, by the way. But I'm not sure exactly, like I'm not sure if maybe the Eldritch effect is part of the secondary attack speed cap. I'm not sure. That's why we're just stacking that attack speed. Like I do know that this is part of the first attack speed cap. I know that Varanya is, I'm pretty sure, part of the first attack speed cap. I'm not sure about some of this other stuff like the Witchcraft powers yet because it hasn't come out yet. People haven't tested that. Dude, this video's it's going to end up being longer than I thought it was going to be. So let's get through this because I just want to spend time with my kiddo before PoE 2. Mercenaries. Let's go over the Spirit Boons. So I just haven't gone and done Tuldura, yeah, to get the other boons because again, this is a PTR. I'm not worried about it. Especially since this is a bugged build. Like usually I would use this in the other builds. You deal 5% increased damage to enemies for 5 seconds after they attack you. This is also still a good one, taking reduced damage from elites. But if I just stacked a bunch of damage reduction that I'm otherwise going to get, this 15% isn't a huge deal. But to be honest, this also isn't a huge deal. See, the thing about this is it depends. Is this a 1.05x multiplier or is this adding 5% flat damage that is literally useless? Who knows? 1.05 isn't a huge deal, but it's still not bad, right? When you start stacking it with other stuff, it's just like, okay, well, it just adds a little bit of damage, but who knows? I just remember they changed some stuff, so I just want to make sure that this is correct. This is where I would still put the second boon. So we have 40% multiplicative critical strike damage, 100% get that. You could do this, but I think our attack speed is fine. This would help with overpower damage, but if you're not doing an overpower build, this gives you lucky hit chance and critical strike chance. So it would be one of these two, more than likely. It just depends. If you're doing, I mean, I know we're doing a Werebear skill right now with Overpower. If you're doing Overpower, this is better. If you're doing anything else, then this is better. Bolster, because these other things don't really matter. We don't care about companion skills. Our resource is fine. And then we don't really care about this. Fortify, we do care about though. And then lastly, this right here is where this is absolutely necessary. So some builds want to use this. But every 6 casted attack will cause your next earth skill to overpower. This is our best way to guarantee overpower. All right, I want to handle something real quick. So skill tree. This actually needs to be like this, but not a huge deal. So before I was using Maul, but when the build isn't bugged, you would want to use Claw so you can trigger quick shift. So just 2 points here. And then 1 point in a Heart of the Wild to get up to Wild Impulses. And then we have 1 point in a Predatory Instinct to get to Iron Fur, which just gives us damage reduction. Backlash, because this is a defensive skill. It would matter normally. Without the bugged build, I do believe it would be better to go this way. Oh, wait, they changed this, didn't they? Oh, no. Okay, no, never mind. So go this way to get more attack speed, but we might be attack speed capped anyway. So... And this doesn't really matter because our damage is in Werebear form. So, no, you want to go with this one, Preserving Bloodhound. They've changed some stuff, so, like, I second guess whether I still know what I'm talking about. You know? Ancestral Fortitude. It would be actually nice to get a couple more points into this because we're not resistance capped. But if we were playing in Season 7 and leveling up some more, the rest of my points between where I'm at now at, like, 210 and 250, I would just go and get my resistances capped. But ain't nobody got time for that. We got Path of Exile 2 coming. Then we have Feral Aptitude. Coming down through here. Getting Provocation and Mending. Getting Crushing Earth and Stone Guard. And then we want to get over to Envenom since they're going to be poisoned from the aura. Then we only have 1 point to Petrify, which sucks because our cooldown on it. But it's fine. We're launching Petrifies all the time with our Ruins. And then we have Resonance, Natural Disaster, Defiance, Catastrophe, some points in defensive posture to make sure that for the bug that we're getting our Fortify up. And also, even if we weren't doing the bug, we are using Retaliation on our staff for the most damage. So you just want to make sure you're always fortified. And then obviously Ursine Strength, gain 30% maximum life while in Werebear form. And while you're healthy, you deal increased overpower damage. I honestly think that when Season 7 comes out, I'm going to go with the Druid. I haven't played a Druid in so long. It's been since Season, like, 4 or 5, and even then I didn't play it very long. It was one of those ending builds where, like, I have enough gold to buy the stuff that I want to buy, so I do, and then I play it for like a couple days, and then I quit the season until the next season comes out. So we're gonna go with Druid, I think. Sorcerer is a good contender as well, I suppose. Necromancer, I don't know. I put together that build, and it's the first build I put together on my own without any help whatsoever. Like, usually what I do, I get a reference for things, and then I change things the way that I feel like they would be better. But I build off a base, and sometimes I end up altering the build completely, where it's nothing like the original build. But it's still easier to tweak builds, right? Like, I'll find something and be like, well, if I do this, I'll do more damage. Then after I change that, I'd be like, okay, well, then now if I change this, I'll do more damage. And then it just kind of, like, it goes off of there. I'll look at somebody's paragon board and be like, dude, you have that so shittily optimized. Let's optimize it. Like, the guy who put this build together, because again, I just took this paragon board from somebody else's stuff. This is where Spirit is. Here is, he had it if you had 300 points. He had a point here. And look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then he still has it this shape like this. You have outmatch in here. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just not optimal. You just take this out completely, get rid of this, and then go here, and you have 4 more points. Which didn't really matter now because we can only have 5 boards, but before it was huge. Like in the seasons before, so up until season 5, it was huge because I would be the guy who would make builds and be able to fit extra boards in because I optimized, okay? That was my thing, and they took it from me, but it's okay. I honestly think if they change, this is just a rant, okay? We'll get back to what we're supposed to be talking about. If they changed the starter board where you could pick the starter board, then this 5-board system is perfect, in my opinion. Get rid of the starter board and just let us pick what board we start on so that we can get 1 more legendary node in, and then boom. Anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about here, which paragon board is actually the last thing we need to do. We have Headhunter in here. I'm just going to show you guys this. I do have a copy of this build, I do believe. Yeah, Mobilytics, where I took away points to get it down. So I'll post that in the description. Now we have Outmatch in here. And this is Earthen Devastation. Even this isn't optimal. Because you could take this point here and put it here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would still be better to just like leave here. Because here's a dexterity node that we get from Spirit. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't help myself. Survival Instinct's the thing that's bugging the build. And then we have Earth and Sky in here. We have Dominate in Ancestral Guidance. This resource gen right here really helps out with the casting a Wrath skill. Generates so much resource. So having this here, perfect. And then lastly, Heightened Malice. So while an enemy is poisoned nearby, you deal increased damage. This with the aura is, it's great. Sorry, like I'm just like overhyped today because we got Paths of Exile 2 coming out later. But it doesn't come out until 2 p.m. for me, and it's not even 10 in the morning, and I've already been up for 4 hours. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I know I'm a little like, I don't know today, but make sure I covered all my bases. We did this, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that, we did this. All right. Thank you guys for watching.